But this high one here, it looks like going to be all over this one. This ain't so this kid's game right here. Boom,
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going. Okay, we finally had a correction last night. That's first one we've had, and since I can actually remember, down about 1.25 average on the indexes, the major indexes in the U.S. last night. So a reasonable pullback. You can see there all the sectors are down except for the utility sectors. Obviously, kind of guys going for some safe havens there in the utility sector. Really, I think that this is all kind of finally been a capitulation on the back of guys really realizing that there's problems in China. From the retail sales figures that just came out in the industrial production numbers, following on the back of the trade data. I mean, they're just, they've just everything's looking very soft there in China, and so the market really finally started to show some real aversion to it as of yesterday. We had some follow through out of the Asian markets, quite heavy. In fact, out of the Nikkei, we had about a 100 basis point strengthening in the yen, which obviously took the Nikkei down 3.3% overnight, and then most all the other markets were down over 1% as well. So like we said, finally, guys are starting to really get properly worried about the stories out of China. So we got the follow through there on the Asian markets, which will obviously probably be the most heavily hit by that sort of story. Okay, and let's go into today. We've got a lot of stocks going ex-div today. That's Anglo's at 59 US cents. That's Discovery at 73 cents. Southern National at 90. ShopRite at 132. Massmart at 275, and Grindrod at 17 cents. So remember, we'll see a little bit of extra discount today. Futures because of that. So and don't get caught up in those this morning trying to buy because they're opening too low. Right, we had industrial production and capacity utilization out of Japan overnight. Industrial production was a touch weaker. Capacity utilization was better. We have the CPI numbers coming out of Germany and the open. We've got trade balance and construction output in the UK at 11:30, and then the States we got PPI final demand numbers month on month, and University of Michigan confidence. So very little of significance happening again today. We're going to continue to follow on to the trade action and watch that closely, and see how things pan out for the day today. I think we haven't had a sell-off or a correction in a while, so we're going to we're gonna tread lightly here. But I think that there could be some exciting volatility in the days and weeks to come. All right. Let's have a look. The first chart I want to look at is the ALSI. We'll zoom in here a little bit more and show here with the ALSI. Really, there's a couple. I don't know why I just drew it from there. That's not what I wanted to do. Really, we're going to look at kind of supports. I'm going to look at two things here. We'll look at the closing lows and the actual intraday lows of the recent, the last month and a half. I think that's what's most significant here. If you really have a look at that, you can see that runs all the way across there, which is really where we peaked out here on the first day of the year, and that runs in conjunction with the intraday lows. That's at about 43,350, and then if you really run it from the actual lows of the spike down lows there, it's at about 43,250. So there's definitely sorry, I'm making up numbers here. 42,350 and 43,250. Sorry, 350 and 250 at 42,000. Sorry. So we dropped those levels yesterday on a closing basis. I think we definitely are below any type of real support for the time being. I mean, if we back out here a little bit, I personally think we won't really see real support until we hit support on the trend line, which is quite a ways away from here. We're probably looking at about 1,500 points potentially a downside. I just don't see any horizontal support here that's going to be enough to really hold us up. Now, I mean, in terms of a short-term target, we'd probably be looking at a breakdown from this level from the top, which is really close to about 1,000 points. So we're going to look for about 1,000 points of downside from the 42,350 number. as a short-term target, but I really think that we can get down to trend support, which is going to be closer to 40,750. Remember, we've run unbelievably hard over the past 5 or 6 months. That kind of a pullback definitely wouldn't be a total surprise. All right. Next one I want to look at is Billiton. This is Billiton in London. I mean, you think about how hard Billiton's is run here, but we've had such a breakdown in the rand, which is obviously filtered through into this price and all the other dual listing prices, that really we have kind of had a misconception of the strength of these underlying securities, and really, we're coming down to test the sort of bottom end of trend support here. I think you can also look at a very significant lateral support here at 1750, which lines up perfectly on trend support. I mean, that number actually goes all the way back to April and May of last year's bottom. So 1750 is a huge level here in Billiton's. I actually think we're going to see this tested today. If not today, the next day or two. You're going to need to, in order for this thing to be able to bounce and balance, significantly. And I mean, if we drop below 1750, I think that things can get a little bit messy. Some of these other ones, like Glencore, I think that we showed yesterday, and some of the others have dropped out the bottom already in London. Definitely pushing pushing back toward the bottom of all the ranges on those shares. All right, we're going to look at Sasol here as well. Sasol, which we know has had an incredible run, coming back down. Looks like today we'll probably get a test of the 560 level. I think this is probably a decent place to have a nibble. We haven't gotten a correction in the oil price like we've got out of all these other industrial commodities. So I personally think that maybe it's a decent little place to put on some risk. If you're looking for a long play, maybe this is one you can buy versus selling one of the others if you're scared of the sector. But 560, I think it was definitely will put up a little bit of a fight today. But watch the level closely. Remgro, amazingly, on a 500-point down day yesterday, we managed to break out, which is quite impressive. And you can really see there. We kind of popped up through above this little consolidation range that we had been in. I mean, we shortened that up. I mean, you can see as well. It's just very, very clearly popped out the top of that little range. And I mean, I think we've probably got a higher target, probably closer to 200, slightly above 200 on the breakout there. And it just, this share obviously just seems to trade contrary to the overall market, on a lot of days. So. All right, next one we'll look at one we haven't looked at in a long time. That's Investec, INP. Let's zoom forward a little bit here. And what you can see here on Investec is really it doesn't trade, that similarly to the other banks. I think maybe it's the influence out of the UK, but bottom line is we've really put in a long consolidation here. We broke out to the upside on maybe a bit of a continuation pattern above 78, and we've literally spent the entire time for the better part of a month between 78 and 80 bucks. So I think once we move to either side of these, there's those two numbers, there definitely will be a quick move, in either direction. I would be favoring the long side, seeing as how we've popped up above on a breakout, and we're just consolidating. Typically that chart would be a bullish result in the end, so keep that in mind. We start to push the upside here. There could be quite a lot of room left, and I think there's more room than just the same sort of height of the channel of this consolidation in that move. All right, and the last one I'm going to show is Truworth, and Truworth really is starting to, I mean, it's obviously dropped out of a bit of support on in terms of the flag pattern that it's put up here. We talked about that, I think, the other day. It's definitely dropped support on the flag. What I wanted to show is that, it's it's starting to look like it's almost making a little bit of I can't get rid of this line. Starting to look like it can, making a little bit of a head and shoulder here with a left shoulder right there, potentially putting in a right shoulder here if we spend another day or two moving out to the right, and then we fail. It would look very much like a little mini head and shoulders here over that sort of timeline. So keep that in mind. I think that I think that this thing can definitely break to the downside. So it's got the head, and it's already dropped out of the flag pattern, the bear flag, and setting up into a little bit of a head and shoulder move after it failed yesterday on the right shoulder. So I think that either way you look at it, it's looking bearish for True Worths, and we probably see this thing trade down to the lows of the year again. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.
Actually consider doing